I'm starting right up, Chuck. Hey everyone, you're listening to the HR Stories podcast with Chucks and Mickey and the number one HR director in the country. If he's not on your team, get him on your team. And my name's John Tallheimer. I do stuff. And so Chuck, I'm a reader, right? I'm a reader. I like statistics. I like information. I love data. It's going to help me make better decisions. So here's a question for you. I want to be honest with this. I want to see. I don't know. You may know exactly this answer, but you may not. So thinking of the working population, what percentage of them are working at minimum wage? Minimum wage.
I would have to say not many.
Or below.
I would have to say...
Give me a percent.
10%.
Okay. All right. 1.2% in 2025.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Either 2024 or 2025. I was shocked by that low number. But this is what's happening, right? And so we talk a lot about minimum wage and the importance of minimum wage and getting people up at minimum wage. Now, I want to be honest, at least my opinion. You can tell me if I think I'm wrong. $7.25 is kind of ridiculous as a minimum wage.
I don't know anyone that's paying $7.25 ever. And in Florida, and many states have a state minimum wage. There's a few that don't, but market really drives that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think that's it. And I was saying to somebody the other day, I was doing a presentation on HR and we were talking about minimum wage. And I said this, I don't know, I think I've said this on there. The thing about minimum wage is not the minimum wage, right? Because not that many people are working at minimum wage. But when you boost it up, there's upward pressure on all the other salaries, right? And so if somebody comes in, so in my home state of Virginia, I think the minimum wage is $12.77 or will be. And then it's going to go up to $13.85 January 1st. And then January 1st, 2028, $18. And so what happens there is not that, oh yeah, I'm moving people up from minimum wage or I'm moving people up. It's all those people above them that are being pushed up.
Yeah, or not pushed up, and then you have compression.
Yeah, you have compression, or people then like, well, why this person got a raise to $15, and I'm making the same amount as them? That's ridiculous.
And I've been here 5 years.
Right, yeah. And so what's going on for me? And I guess compression is a great word because that's kind of what happens is that gets compressed down. You may bump it up a little bit, but not as much as the people below them. And I found that fascinating that it's there. And so looking back, so they had the minimum wage from 1973 all the way up. In 1973, it was at like 15% of the population. And then in 2000, I guess it was probably 2009, or maybe that period right before the minimum wage went up, it was like 4 or 5%. So, I don't know. I found that fascinating. I just think that when you and I talk about how do we make work better, probably pay should be on that list somewhere, right? I mean,
sure.
Paying people properly. I don't know. Let me ask you, do you think that when you look in your world, do you think when you look at the salaries and you think about what those people do, now don't put in your mind like, well, we have these standard salaries and there's all this data about people getting paid. But when you look at that work, does that valuation really feel right?
Yeah, that's such a tough, there's a whole science on compensation. And I would say that is my least favorite part of HR.
Yeah.
Okay. And my least it's almost like sorcerers. The people that are true compensation people are sorcerers, and they work with a lot of data points. They work with a lot, many variables to consider. They've got statistics and graphs, and and so for me, it's never been an easy understanding. What I will always try and do is try and stay at the market and maybe a little above the market. How do you know the market? A lot of places aren't sharing their
data,
their salaries, right? And we're not allowed to, according to the Department of Labor, actually inquire. That would be considered, what's the word? Not coercion, collusion.
Collusion.
Where I call someone, hey, what are you paying? What are you paying? What are you paying?
Right.
That's why real salary surveys or even commissioning one by a true compensation or person or even a university is always good. They do it blindly and then you get your results. So this is not an orthodox way to do it, but it works. You go out and you're trying to hire people at $16 an hour to be a hostess or a host, and you can't find anyone, or you're losing people. And well, where are you going? Oh, I'm going up the street for 17, for
Yeah.
18. Now, is that scientific? Do I immediately raise my rates to 18? Because no, I mean, how do I really know that that's true? But where there's smoke, there's fire. And where there's lots of smoke, there's lots of fire. So you're going to have to relent and say, okay, maybe we're not paying enough. We're not attracting anyone. We can't get anyone to apply. And when they do apply and we get them in here and we talk to them about what the pay rate is, they balk, right? So yeah,
it's supply and demand too, right?
Yeah, and I will tell you, for a number of years, in my world, in the hospitality world, the hardest jobs were housekeeping and dishwashing, stewarding, and in the last probably 16, probably the last 10 to 15 years, the housekeeping used to be the lowest paid in the hotel.
Wow.
And now it's, if not equal with your front desk, let's say, or other occupations, it's sometimes higher.
Yeah.
So, which makes sense. It's the hardest job.
Right.
Why would you not pay more
That's why I think
for that job?
I think sometimes some of the people that are making those decisions, those are the jobs they look down. And they're like, well, they're only worth this much. But then I look at what they're doing and I'm like, oh my gosh, those people should be paying way more than other people. And again, right, it's a combination of a lot of things. And you're right, we're not compensation experts. Part of that is supply and demand, like what you were talking about. Like, hey, well, I can't get anybody for $15. Maybe I'll move it up to $15.50 or $16. Well, I get somebody. And I think employees will be like, all right, well, I'll do that job for $25 an hour because I can't get anything else, or I'll do it for 45. I mean, there are jobs that I would do if somebody paid me $150 an hour. There's a lot of jobs I would do if somebody paid me $150 an hour, to be honest.
But that'll only work so much because eventually the other places will either catch up or they can't keep up, and because they're smaller, or because they're smaller and they need maybe just less people, they'll blow out the blow things out of the water. And so instead of paying $17 for a position, they're paying 20 or 25, but it's worth it for them to do that. That's why compensation really is only one leg of this stool that we've talked about many, many times. You cannot just count on it's going to be culture, it's going to be the benefits, and it's going to be the compensation. What are the benefits of working there? Not just the health benefits, but there's many other intrinsic benefits. I work there because I'm proud, or I like that job, or I like that industry, or my kids think dad's really cool because he's doing that type of. I don't know.
True,
and
right?
And then we talk about the culture, and what's the culture? Is it an enjoyable culture? Is it a fulfilling culture? Is it one that energizes? And we talked about in our last podcast about the energy and the batteries and the capacity and the capacitors of from coming from home to work, from work to home. And if you're energizing yourself with those back and forth, those meanderings, you really got something. And then you got compensation.
Right.
Are we paying fairly? Are we being equitable? And when the benefits, and we've talked about this, when the benefits and the culture and all that stuff are high, and maybe there's little hassles and it's a heck of a drive. I got to get up early. I'm working late, but the hassles are outweighed by all the benefits, and it's great compensation. Then in my world, people stay. Where I've seen people check out, and you're a leadership guru, is where the compensation's great, but the benefits of being there, the culture's not that great. So then they stay. Right. And they stay just for the money.
Right. I agree with you. I think it's really interesting because I was doing that class the other day with a group of individuals. And like I was talking to them, and their tenure was like between 25 and 30 years, right? They had been at this organization for that long, and they get great vacation benefits, they get great health benefits, they get good money. And these individuals were engaged, right? They were a supervisor, foreman level and above. But I could see, to your point, like, all right, I got a job. They're paying me really good. There's no hassles. It's not that big a deal. I'm just going to come in. I'm going to do my minimum so I can continue my job, right? And we have those people like, that's my minimum. That's all I'm doing. I'm doing what I have to keep my job. Probably in Gallup's survey in terms of engagement, they're not in the disengaged, but they're definitely not in the engaged.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's interesting, right? This whole compensation thing and kind of looking at that, I think is fascinating to me. And I do think it goes to motivation. I always tell people, and I don't know, you could challenge me on this, Chuck, if you think I'm wrong. I think money motivates somebody to take a job. I don't think during the day it motivates them.
Mm-hmm.
And some
no, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm not thinking. Oh, I'll tell you what. If I'm an hourly employee and I'm in overtime, then I'm thinking, hey, I'm motivated to stay. But you're right. Overall, you're not thinking, man, I'm here today. I'm going to make this much money. I'm here this week. You're thinking about the culture and the work life. And we've talked about on a previous podcast about the jolts and being jolted. That book that I've been reading about, those little things that kind of knock you down. And you're thinking, why am I here? Folks, that's another podcast. And I actually wrote a companion article.
Oh, cool.
Death by a Million Paper Cuts, not unaliving anyone, but at some point you get so many paper cuts, you're like, bleeding out. I can't survive in this job anymore.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. That's a fascinating little
nugget.
Yes, yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all. That was me. I think there are people that come in and look at their paycheck or look at the hours every day and go, all right, I made that much. I know I need to make this much. I think there is a employee population where they're looking at their dollars every day, not because it's about motivation, but because I need to pay rent. I need to pay
survival.
Look at gas, right? I was listening to the news tonight, and I don't know when this will be there, but they were saying that the lower income people, is that right? Does that sound wrong? I don't know. It seems weird. Lower income employees, were driving less because they just can't afford the gas, right? They can't afford the gas. And the higher level, the rich people were like, well, I'll just spend more money on gas and I guess I'll just deal with it. And I think when we're working at work, we may not be thinking of that struggle, but I do think we need to be more aware of our lower income employees. Are we doing everything we can when things are happening in the economy, right? And I'm not saying we should raise their salaries or do something, but we do need to be more aware of that, to be like, well, wow, they're probably under a little strain. Maybe I won't have them come in twice today. I'll just keep them here all day or whatever that process is.
All right. John, this has been a great conversation. Started talking about minimum wage, talked about the value of why someone would stay at a job. You gave me a great nugget about, people, compensation is why people maybe take a job, but that's not what they're thinking about all day. I love that. Listeners, if this is the stuff that you like, and yes, we tell stories on the HR Stories podcast, and sometimes we deviate, and we always have the intention of trying to help you build a better workplace for yourself, your coworkers, and your employees.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, you got any other final nuggets for us as we wind up this episode of the HR Stories podcast?
No, nuggets around compensation. I would love if there's a compensation expert listening to this, or a compensation expert. I would love to have them on air. I would love to kind of pick their brains.
We will interview you.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, no, we want you to be, interesting. So don't come in here and just tell us stats. You got to tell us stories. tell us stories about, hey, how these things happen. But that's my end. Thank you all for listening today. We'll check in with you next week.